Flippers are losing money left and right. Wholesalers are closing down shop throughout the country. And anybody in real estate right now is thinking that we're in 2008 all over again.
Call us Reyes on the humble show. Yeah, we all in. Yeah, we all in. So grab your boys now, cause you know we all win. Lift your hands up.
Welcome back to the All In Podcast, where the truth is unfiltered and unedited. I'm your host, Carlos Reyes. Alongside the usual suspects, right across from me, I have the man, the myth, the legend, the most interesting man in the industry, Mr. Zadie. To my left, I have another usual co-host, Born Closer, aka Adrian Salgado.
Closer.
So, gentlemen, today's gonna be a good show. Why were you laughing when he did what he does?
It's the way you say my name.
It's a combination of the way you say his name and a combination of his
antics. I like that though.
I love it.
Like Shooter McGavin.
Yeah.
Right. I love it. So last week we were discussing, all kinds of different moving parts that are going on right now in the real estate industry, specifically investing, wholesaling, flipping, novations, etc. I feel like some people are having a tough time right now.
It's exciting. It's exciting because if everyone's like, oh, wholesaling is great, everyone's loving it, then everyone's going to be like, I want to be a wholesaler. But now it's like, hey, it could be illegal. Don't do it. It's risky. It's this,
saturated.
it's this. And now the cream rises to the top. So I'm hyped, man.
My question is,
Wow, I never thought about it that way. That's amazing, by the way.
Yeah, so the people that jumped into this thinking it was a gold rush, right?
Yeah.
Where are they at now? What's the new gold rush? Because there's always a gold rush, right?
Yeah.
There's always a gold rush.
It was solar for a while.
You're
right?
talking about a fad, right? So some of the fads that we have seen in the marketplace, right? Specifically on social media business, right? So wholesaling was big for a while, and then e-commerce, right? Specifically Amazon, that was big for a while. And then what was that?
ERC.
ERC.
Yeah.
That was big for a while.
I don't even know what that means, but I just know that it.
Yep. What was it? NFTs. NFTs were big for a while.
Hey, lay off it.
You had your own NFT, right?
I still do.
Zadie Lee. And then Forex. Forex was big for a while. And then, credit repair, that was big. So there's all these
That's right.
short-term hustles that happen. And what's funny, man?
Even the Airbnb one.
Airbnb was hot for a while.
That's right. You're right.
Right? Oh, online education,
selling
online
courses.
coaching, right? That's been big for a while. But I've seen there's been a few people out there, and obviously I'll never drop a name because that's not what this is about. I'm making a point. There's been a few people out there that actually jumped on every single fad and left the previous fad. So there's a specific gentleman out there, right? Like he was a real estate wholesaler. And then after a real estate wholesaler, he was an e-com guy, and he was telling all the real estate people in the wholesale world and the investment world how real estate investing is absolutely stupid because of the time frame that it takes to make money and all the operating expenses that go into play, the returns on real estate compared to e-commerce, right? Mm-hmm. And then he started pushing e-com, and he sold tens of millions of dollars, actually specifically to a lot of wholesale operators and a lot of wholesale people out there. And then, that individual did the e-com thing for a little while, and then until Amazon just said, hey, like, we're shutting this down.
Yeah.
Amazon shut that down, and then that specific individual went over into Forex, right? And then he did, tens of millions of dollars there as far as like he raised or gathered tens of millions of dollars there, and then that went south. So the e-com thing went south, the NFT thing went south, or sorry, the forex thing went south, and then I don't know what that dude has going on these days.
It all comes full circle, right? I mean, let's be honest, right? Even at one point, we were distracted. We dabbled with the e-com stuff. We didn't go all full in, and we saw we quickly realized
tested it. We were safe.
Yeah,
we were safe about it. We waited years, and then we were like, okay, let's slowly stress test.
Yes, and we
then
quickly
were like,
realized
nope,
that
this is
not
no good.
sustainable. This is not scalable. But it all comes full circle. I mean, a lot of those people that got their big break in real estate thought, well, that was easy, but it's easier to teach. Then they go and they start educating, and then they start getting presented with a bunch of different, quick hustles, opportunities. And then they all end up back into real estate.
I made some money with e-com. I mean, they told me $24,000 a month. It was $24,000 for the year, but it was still green. It was profit. But
for how many?
But
years?
I had a good operator for 2 years. But I had a legit operator that was doing it before the fad. And I think that's the key too. It's like even with wholesaling, right? And specifically talking about all in right now.
Once everybody jumps on it, it breaks.
Yes, but more importantly, if you go with the person that joined the fad, then when the times change, they're not going to be able to adapt. Why we've been able to adapt is because we essentially created the fad, right? You created how many gurus? So when all of them are like, I don't know what to do, let me copy Carlos, right? Now when times change, they're like, who do I copy now? Well, you guys are just creating more opportunity. Like you're like, hey, we could do this differently. Hey, we could do this differently. Hey, we could do this differently. So you're creating and innovating while they're just copying. So that's why if you stick with somebody that is the innovator, you're always going to be ahead of the market. So everybody tuning in right now, you guys are ahead of the market. So congratulations.
Love it.
Yep.
That's one thing, and you know us, like Sal, me, Adrian, and when do we not seek to innovate, right? And here, I'll give you an example. Like, okay, for 3 years, we took our foot off the gas pedal when it comes to real estate.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
2022, 2023, 2024, right? Were we still doing some deals? Yes, but
it was
bare minimum.
It was like cruise control set at 10 miles per hour.
Yeah, it was so bad. It was so bad.
But it's
right?
still pushing six figures.
But let me tell
monthly,
you, let me tell you why we actually did that, right? And this is Adrian and I talk about this all the time. See, a lot of people are like, man, some people be like, man, those dudes, what are they up to? Like they fell off, or they might even think that, which is totally okay. But what they don't realize is, I wanted our organization to learn and know business at the highest level possible. And at that moment, real estate, wholesale, and flipping was not going to provide that for me.
Yeah.
I needed to get out and go learn from the blue collar guys that sold for $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The blue collar guy that sold 48% of his company for $200 million. I needed to go and see how they operated. Think about that. If you can learn how to operate a blue collar business that is doing over 20,000 transactions a month, you can learn how to crush it operationally in real estate wholesaling and investing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Simple. If you can learn and see how someone built up a company in the blue collar space in just 6 years and sold for $100 million, think about the level of business acumen it takes to be able to build, scale, and exit at that level.
Not only that, I mean, you got to think about what was built in the first place, right? In order for us to take 2 to 3 years basically off and still be able to kind of sustain there, like that's a huge risk. That's a huge swing in general, right? So for somebody to come in, what did we build? We built a platform for ourselves that we can then go and say, all right, set that on the side. Let's go over here. Let's basically go to college, right?
Yeah.
the school of hard knocks. Let's learn all this other stuff. I tell you right now, there's a lot of companies out there, real estate wholesaling in general, that if they wanted to put their stuff on autopilot and go do something for 3 years, they would cease to exist within 12 months.
12 months?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
3 months,
giving them.
yeah, 3 months.
That's giving them
I would
some
say
courtesy.
30
most
days.
of those companies have cash flow challenges. I think 3 to 6 months they would be done.
Yeah, that's
Your
true.
typical wholesale company is not in the net positive yearly, but they're cash flowing, right? So maybe they'll lose 200K at the end of the year, but they'll make 50K a month, right? And they'll pay off their debt, and they'll have 20, 30K. Then they'll milk that down, get into debt a little bit, and then boom, another 50K hits. But yeah, they're not in the green. They're definitely not in the green. Like once you factor in taxes and you factor in everything else, and I think that's why essentially you can't exit a wholesale company because there's no
Well, there's
consistent.
supposedly
There's people
there's
that
been
have.
there's been people that have exited their wholesale company, but
They have to have employees
but
and
no, I'm saying
reoccurring
like
income then, bro.
here's what people don't realize. I mean, technically it's considered an exit, even if you sold your wholesale company to your acquisition rep on owner finance.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
sure.
like
yeah.
you see, technically it's
Yeah.
an exit, but it's not. It's it's not the type of exits that that I'm used to.
Yeah, technically you have a plane if you have a crop duster. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's a plane.
So
you know, right?
so yeah, it's tough, obviously, to to exit a wholesale operation, but at the end of the day, here's what 99.9% of wholesale companies and flipping companies out there lack, or actually not lack, what kills them. And I think you and I were talking about this: the unknown. It's not what you know that kills you, because most of these companies, they some of them know how to market and generate leads and actually acquire deals,
Know how to hustle.
right? They know how the work ethic is there.
Yeah.
They know those things. They know the arbitrage, side of things, buy low, sell high, wholesale, fix and flip, whatever it is, right? Innovations, right? But they do not know how to run a business with every moving part in every single area of the business. They don't know how to operate. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what ends up forcing them to shut the doors. This year specifically, I've already spoken to people that started in 2021 and did well last year. They had a great, they had a few great years. You have to remember there was a wave of when the hedge funds were buying heavy.
Yep.
That's right.
And so at that point, it was just order taking for a year or two, and then, then after that, the market, the market was still moving, right? And so they had decent years, but then this year, actually, this began last year, when things started to get harder to make money. Think about it, right? Like 2-3 years ago, especially during the COVID years, right, or the COVID years, everybody was spending money. It was easy. You can sell anything.
Yeah.
You can flip anything, right? And now, like you said, like the cream rises to the top, and there's only 2 ways that you're not going to get burned right now. Only 2 ways, right? Number one, if you have enough business experience and you've suffered losses and you learned lessons from those losses, and now you know the what to do and the what not to do, which is, I believe, is what's really helping us right now during this moment in time with this market. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Because we've lost our shirts before.
Yeah. When to invest, how to market, what to
Right?
market in.
Exactly. Right. You already know, like it's second nature, because you remember the pain of the lesson of having 18 listings, 18 flips listed on the market, and then losing on 12 of them. Having to fight on 2 different fronts, right? Now think about how the Germans lose the war in World War II.
Yeah,
They had to fight in multiple fronts, right? Well, All In Nation had to, in the real estate side, on one side, we had to continue to pay the private money guy 6 figures. And then on the other side, we had to come up with our own money to sell 12 of the 18 deals. So most businesses do not survive that type of financial storm.
Right.
So we learned our lessons from those losses. Now it's second nature. Remember, pain reminds you of like, oh, don't do that. You know what I mean, right? And we learn our lessons, and now we're operating right now in a downward market within the lines.
Yeah.
We know how to maneuver on the way down, and everybody knows how to maneuver on the way up, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first, I would say, way. One of the ways that you will not lose your shirt or you will not close your doors during this time. Here's the second way: get next to the people that already know what to do during these times. That's called coaching, mentorship, education.
People who are actively doing it. That's the thing. It's like
That's you're
I
right.
see some sales trainers like, oh yeah, we closed X amount of dollars, a year ago. Like they're not saying a year ago, but they're presenting their numbers from a year ago. But like just because I know them, I know it's a year ago. It's not like now.
Well,
2 years ago. Like you got to know how to navigate the waters, right? So you're gonna go to somebody who knows how to navigate the waters, not somebody who navigated waters 2 years ago. That doesn't make sense.
Ryan Pineda texted me this morning because we were going back and forth on some good things, and he goes at 8:59. He goes, question. He goes, why not have someone sign for you? You know how this week we bought a flip,
Yeah.
we sold a flip, another one of our flips went under contract. We did a few wholesale deals. One of them seems to be a near 6-figure deal, right?
Because it looks better on camera.
Well, hold on. No. Watch this. We did a $500,000 loan, transactional funding. Okay. So it's been a great week. And, I'm like, dude, you know what? I'm going to start filming the actual business,
Yeah.
the operations, the operating side of it, because less than 0.0001% on social media are doing
Yeah,
that.
they
Would you
can't
guys
do that.
agree?
Yeah, exactly. They can't do
Everybody's
that.
selling something, everybody knows something, but nobody shows it to you.
Yeah.
So I go, this is what my response to Ryan this morning was when he says, question, why are you signing your own closing docs? Right? Bro, for how many years did I not sign our own closing docs?
Yeah.
For many years.
The only reason you're signing them
Or
right now,
purchase
they're not even the closing docs. You signed a couple papers for the loan docs, for the hard money loan. That was it.
Well,
It was literally like 4
what's
pages.
this? I said, I used to not sign closing docs for many years. Now, I want to showcase me being an operator. I said, know what I mean? And he says, I got you. And in my opinion, he's a social media genius.
Yeah, he is.
Right?
Undeniable.
Pineda is undeniably, he is the pioneer of real estate investors building a social media platform like nobody has ever seen before.
Yeah.
We all have our own thing that we pioneered, right? Like I believe that Sal and I pioneered, like how to operate at a very high level as a real estate wholesaler, right?
Even virtual wholesaling.
Multiple seven-figure operations, virtual wholesaling. We pioneered the soft auction style that almost you can, Investor Lift has now, right? Like, wow, right? Some of the skip tracing stuff, like that batch kind of, got some of those ideas, right? There's been a lot of things that we've pioneered, cold calling and, in a specific region of the world. And now everybody's there, right?
Making call centers, yeah.
Building, vertically integrating multiple businesses, right, across, different industries, but they all are vertically connected and integrated, right?
Yeah.
So, that's something that we pioneer. Here's the other thing that we pioneered. I believe that we created our, on the education side, we created our own competition, which is, I don't regret one bit of it, right? The Keith Everetts of the world, the Donovan Ruffins of the world, the Nick
Ryan
Perrys of the
Pinedas.
world, the Ryan Pinedas of the world. I didn't teach Ryan fixing and flipping or
No, he's a guru at
social
that.
media.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
taught him wholesaling. He learned wholesaling, right? Pace Morby, he was a home investor, and we taught him the real estate wholesale side of things, the CRM and the marketing, and right. So
Who's the guy that didn't
but
have
but
tattoos?
I don't want
then
to take
got
credit for
tattoos
Pace
later?
Morby because Pace Morby is also a pioneer. Ready?
Pace Morby's GOAT.
Pace Morby, right? He pioneered creative finance, in my opinion.
Community.
He pioneered community.
Yeah.
So I can't take any credit for that stuff, right? But we created we helped build the Tiffany Highs of the world, the Eric Kleins of the world.
That's the guy. He had no tattoos when he came, and then all of a sudden he had all these tattoos, right?
No, I think he had tattoos.
I don't think so.
Who else is out there that is doing good with education? Austin Rutherford, he paid us $50,000 back in 2018 to coach him, mentor him one-on-one.
He's got so many doors, bro.
Right,
He's doing a
Austin
great
Rutherford is
job, yeah.
absolutely crushing it. But
He
again,
is, he
I
is.
can't take credit for the doors he has. I can just take credit for the teaching him the wholesale operation side of things, right? So, these are all amazing human beings out there, man. Like, I believe that our organization has produced more coaches and more seven-figure earners in the real estate wholesale space than any other organization out there.
Yeah.
I truly do.
I mean, I know because I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's not even like a question, And to me, it's just interesting because like Ryan is one of these guys where Pace is like that too, where he'll acknowledge and he'll throw it back, because there's no
Yeah.
ego there.
It doesn't hurt.
Like
him,
some
no.
people have like ego, like no one taught me anything. I learned it myself. Like
Oh, I forgot to mention
just never
Jacob
get
Blank. Jacob Blank is educating and
Man,
doing
that
deals.
kid-
we mentored him when he was 16 years old.
Bro, that kid and his dad when they started that company, that was amazing. That was
Yeah.
beautiful.
That was epic.
That was
I mean,
epic.
again,
so beautiful.
Right? There's beautiful human beings out there that are operating right, and I'll tell you this, I believe that it's been a blessing and an honor to impact an industry at that level, and I believe that that's why we have the love and the respect and the reputation that we have now, because we not only do we do it on the operation side, but we helped create more leaders in the space.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the names that you've named, you look at them, and those people are still winning. They're still winning.
Some of them are making more money than we are.
We
Right, which is
basically
great.
What did we coach them to? We coached them to be sustainable in any type of market,
That's right.
right? In any type of market, up, down, left, right, whatever it looks like in your city, in a different city, in a different state, whatever it looks like. That's the biggest thing that most of these people continuously, I would hope they give us, well, actually, I don't even hope that they give us any. It
doesn't matter.
Anything. It
It
doesn't matter.
happened.
But the fact of the matter is that the reason a lot of these companies are sustainable in time of distress and stuff is because of the foundation that we help them build in the beginning.
Praise God.
That goes again what we were talking about earlier, where if the one teaching you is teaching you how to withstand the storm, then you're built for that. If the one teaching you isn't from that cloth, right, is like, hey, just make some money because this is the hot thing to do right now, you're probably going to be set up for failure, because as soon as the waters get a little ruffled, you're done, bro.
Yep. Yeah. So let's talk about the market that, how people are freaking out right now. Here's what I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you what I told the young guys, all the young guys I've been talking to that started wholesaling in 2021 or after. I said, hey, you really need to learn novations or retail buyers program, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it, yeah.
You know what I mean?
You need to learn how to get your properties on the MLS.
You need to learn how to get your deal off market discounted and be able to put it on the MLS for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of buyers to see. Right? Whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's millions, but there's definitely thousands and thousands. So you need to educate yourself. If you're not doing that, you're going to be toast. You can't just be a one-trick pony in this market anymore.
That'll work, yeah.
You can't just wholesale. You know what I mean? You got to learn how to wholesale. You got to do novations. If you can do some fixing and flipping, some wholesaling, right? Learn how to do that.
Creative finance has got to be.
You can do creative. We just got a
crazy
creative finance deal yesterday. That seems to be a 6-figure deal.
You have to be creative in the way you get these deals and the way you exit these deals, right?
Yeah.
We structured that deal with the intent to say, okay, let's structure a creative deal. Let's take ownership of the asset, and then let's invest the capital and fix and flip it.
Well, hold on.
Right?
Let's take control of the asset and then come up with an exit strategy, which I love the way that we're moving now because that's what we're doing. I believe that that organizations or companies out there should be strategizing on what kind of, what their exit strategy per deal is going to be, so that you can maximize on every single property.
Okay, well, value drop real quick. So you're a wholesaler, you're struggling. What do you do?
Right now,
Yeah, right now.
it depends what your budget is, right? So you know what I mean. Like here's what you do.
Give no
Okay,
budget, medium budget, and a lot of budget.
Okay, learn novations.
Right.
Okay. Because at this point, maybe you're struggling because you're trying to buy real deep because you're a wholesaler and you're $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 away, which could still be a novation option for you, right? But you're not maximizing on every lead. You're not capitalizing on every lead. So learn novations. Okay.
Wait, let me jump in. Hold on. So, and by that he means everybody that has said no to you, just call them back
Go
with
back
a
over
higher
them.
offer.
Yeah.
Boom.
Right. Learn how to run a novation formula.
Right.
It's a lot different than a wholesale formula.
That's right.
Or a flip formula. You know what I mean? So learn novations. That way now you have two different tools in your tool belt. When it comes to the acquisition side, and then go ahead and exhaust every single lead that you've ever had. Like follow up. Why? Because 50% of your leads are going to come from follow up. You really have to be on a high horse if you think that you're always going to convert a lead into a deal on the first on the first contact. Like, who are you, bro? You know what I mean?
You're not me.
It always made me laugh when people were like, "We need new leads." I'm like, bro, that the list that I got that's new is the same list that somebody else had that's old.
Right.
So it doesn't matter, old, new. It's not like the house was just made. You know what I mean? We're all looking at a list with 10 years ownership. Now it's 11 years ownership, or 12, whatever. It's not new. So yeah, go to your database. If you have an address in a house, it's not like they're gonna like bulldoze the house. That house is there. Maybe it's a new owner, but if there's no new owner, then that might be a lead that you might want to go after.
Yeah, you have to equip yourself at the end of the day with as many tools as possible, right? If you're going in, like you said, and you're a one-trick pony and all you have is a cash offer,
Right.
you think about what you're doing. You're putting the seller in a position to where all they have to do is say yes or no. Does the cash offer work? Yes or no, right? You have a 50-50 chance that you're going to get something. But now, if you go in and you're like, okay, well, here are the options. Which one is going to work best for your situation?
That's right.
It's not a yes or no question. It's already a yes. One of these is going to work. It's just a matter of which one is it going to be, right? And so the more options that you have, if you have a cash offer and you use that as an anchor, and then you have your novation offer, and then you have your creative finance offer, and then especially now the advantage goes to the realtors that can just list the property.
That's right. Wow.
Right? Mm-hmm. So now if you have those four on your team, those four options in your back pocket at any time, now you can truly maximize on every single lead that comes into your CRM.
And if you're not doing that, you're going to get beat out by somebody who is.
Right.
Because you guys might be at that same number and they're like, oh, we want a little bit more, and you don't use any other option. But someone else says, well, I could get you that number. It's just going to take you 60 days. Are you cool with that? Yeah, I'm okay with that. And now you just lost. And they just won.
Here's an interesting thing that I've witnessed recently. Happened on one of our deals, right? But and then a couple other people that I've talked to as well. So I think we've gotten so accustomed to doing acquisitions over the phone that people are now timid on actually showing up to somebody's house to get a deal closed, right?
I love
So
in-house appointments.
that's something that should never go away at the end of the day.
Some people still want to do face to face.
after-
Those people want to do face to face, like an appointment.
Exactly.
Old
So
school appointment.
if you adapt, don't forget and push to the side everything that you knew back then.
Well, you got to read. You got to read the homeowner.
Yeah.
Read the seller. What does that seller want? See, that's why effective communication is so important. Yeah. How are you going to identify what's going to finalize and seal this deal if you're not connected with the homeowner? right? Our rep should have known two things. Number one, am I speaking to the decision maker? Because I mean, the wife loved them.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, are these folks old school? Do they want to see me? Do they want to come to the office, or do they want me to go to their house?
Yeah.
So we lost the deal. We lost the deal, and we would have made $80,000 on that
Oh
deal.
my God.
And guess what? Here's the worst part. Someone beat us out of that deal, and they paid $40,000 less
Because they showed up to the house.
because they showed up to the house.
I was about to say, I'm like, I can't tell you how many times they've chose me instead of somebody else, and it's nothing to do with the money. It's because I listen more.
That's because you're cute.
Or well, yeah, that too, but I listened more, or I made them laugh, or, you know, I sat on the phone with them for an hour when they were explaining their life story to me, pouring into me, because they didn't have anyone to listen to. Like, how many times have you done that? Like, where we're just, you have to identify that it's a seller, right? It's not just someone that's talking, but so many times it has nothing to do with the price. It has to do with what you're saying. Like, they just wanted somebody to meet them in person. They want to know that, you know, you're talking to them in the United States. Or some people are like, oh, I'm not going to sell anyone any property if they're out of state. You have to be in here, in this state. You know, that's happened too.
Well, at that point, you got to get boots on the ground that you trust, right? So that trust can be there.
You would do that, right? Old school in Vegas? Like, you just hop on a plane or drive to Vegas,
No, I mean,
get a few contracts?
Yeah, me and Andy, we set up we booked we booked an entire day. My day started at 8 o'clock in the morning in Vegas. So we drove there.
Was this before like building a virtual infrastructure?
No, this was even during.
Why? Because they needed to talk to you specifically in person.
Yeah, they wanted to talk to me.
Got it.
You know, so
All right.
they needed to sell the house. They wanted to talk to me.
And
Bro,
they're
you're not
fast.
Zadie. You ain't that cute. Hey, listen, you're not Zadie. You ain't that cute.
Well, hey, I was cute enough to secure all
He's
three
King
deals.
Closer,
and,
bro.
and
He's got a lip
leave
on him.
Vegas. The only time I left Vegas winning.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
We generated over 6 figures in that one day of appointments, 3 deals, 3
what's up.
contracts.
I remember that.
Over 6 figures in gross and probably net revenue, and then we just came back home.
Well,
It's necessary.
Great
let
day's work.
me continue down. You said, what advice would you give anybody any wholesaler out there, any fix and flipper out there, right? And I said, hey, learn multiple exit strategies for so that you can have multiple tools for acquisitions. Okay. I would say also, right? The other thing I said was, hey, make sure that you follow up. 50% of your deals will come from following up. So
right.
go back in there, and use the new tools that you have, right? Follow up. Number 3, I would say try to run as lean as possible, right? Operating expenses can really put you in the red.
Yeah, I had
Run lean. Run lean. Get rid of anything or anyone that is not contributing towards progress, towards the goal.
right. Two eye-opening conversations yesterday. One conversation and one video that I watched, but one conversation that I had with a guy that we truly confide in a lot of things, right, here locally. He explained to me about a company that has 80 deals under contract in the month of April, and they have 4 acquisition guys. And
That was eye opening, huh?
to me, that's like, I want that.
That's what I want.
I want that.
That's what I want.
I want
Where
that.
are they located?
They're here.
He's here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna connect with him.
Yeah, we need to.
I got it.
Number 2 is back to what you were talking about, right? You're going to have your A players, you're going to have your B players, and your C players. You know your C players are supposed to be gone, right? But the longer you keep your B players around is going to cause your A players to leave.
Wow. Facts.
Oof. Hold on. Oof.
So the longer you keep your B players around and you don't coach them to be A players, then, you really have to stack your team with A players. And we learned this, we learn it here, but it works in sports, right? We hear it all the time in sports. You're only as good as your worst player, right? Mm-hmm. And so if your worst player is literally doing nothing for productivity, then what do you expect your company to do?
Why do you think GOAT 1 and GOAT 2 push their teams the way they did? Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. They pushed, remember?
Yeah.
I mean, they pushed like the 12th man off the bench. They weren't like, you better go hard in practice
Yep.
or you're out of here. You know what I mean? Like they pushed you, dude. Like they pushed you. A lot of, you know what's funny, bro? A lot of the people that GOAT 1 and GOAT 2 push that just, so they weren't that good on that team with GOAT 1 and GOAT 2, right? They went on after, that was dismantled. They went on and played on other teams and they were just killing.
Yeah.
Think about it. That's not by accident.
No.
Yeah, it's changing work ethic. It's changing mental, like how you see the game, how
Yep.
you approach the game.
So run lean. Run lean with your staff. Okay, if you are overlapping in some departments and it's unnecessary and you're not getting a return there, right? Cut the fat. Run lean. And like you said, if someone isn't living up to the standard, make a move. Get rid of them.
Oh.
You're hurting yourself. You're hurting your other staff members there by keeping a mediocre person next to them. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to have really high standards there. So run lean with your run lean with your marketing. Number one, are you even tracking? Are you tracking your marketing? Did you know that 90% of real estate wholesale companies out there don't know how to track their numbers?
Yeah.
Just point and spray.
Yeah.
I was talking to the young dudes that were here earlier that they entered the space in 2021 and they did multiple six figures last year. This year it's a little slower for them, a lot slower for them.
Yeah.
And I asked them, I said, "Hey, what's your KPIs like with cold calling? Like what are you tracking there?" They're like, I don't really know. I'm like, wait a minute. You made multiple six figures last year. All cold calling. You're cold calling this year. You're losing your tail, and you don't know how to track to see if where there's misfires happening. Watch this, Adrian. March was a good month, a good transition month for our real estate company. April, even though it's not going to be an entirely bad month, I wasn't very happy about it with some of the things that were going on. How long did it take Sal and I to raise the hood and
diagnose the problem.
and diagnose and go deep, right under the hood in the real estate company? Like, how long did that take us to be able to know exactly what's going on and why we're not, hitting the numbers that we're supposed to be hitting?
So just so I give context, so this is board owners, the board having a discussion with the director of operations running the real estate company. Mm-hmm. So this is what this is, so everybody understands.
How long did it take us?
It was over the course of 2 days, but it was probably less than 24 hours.
Is that the fastest you've
working
ever
hours.
seen people identify every single misfire in the company?
Yeah, I would say so.
Like in our history.
In our history, for sure.
Yeah. Because you've been with us for 7 years.
Yeah.
Right? And you've never been a part of when we rip it apart over 2 days, and it's like, okay, guys, here's what's going on.
Yeah. I felt like I was paid. It was a paid mentorship.
Oh.
It felt like it was a mentorship.
So
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Again, how do you pivot? How do you adjust?
Yeah.
Right? How do you track? How do you know that you're running efficiently?
If you can't track it, you can't improve it.
That's right. So, and here's what I'll tell you, right? The only way to win in this market, which is a downward market, there's a couple things you have to do. Okay. Number one, you got to buy deep.
That's right.
This isn't a few months ago or a few years ago where it was a seller's market. Right? Now now you got to educate the seller just in case they haven't been turning on the news. Just in case they haven't been reading every article that's out there, right? Educate them and let them know what's really going on. And guess what? You actually have facts that you can send their way. Hey, Mr. Seller, yeah, we're nosediving right now. It's kamikaze. So if you either sell now or sell next month for 5% less.
We just had a guy today. We had a deal that we had canceled last month, and he called us back today. He was like, "Hey, I need your guys' help." Like, okay. And he was asking for less than we had offered him last. And we still give him $5,000 less than that, than what he was asking.
Wait, did we lock it up?
Yeah, Steven's getting it under contract right now.
Let's go.
But and then what did Steven do, right? He educated the seller. He's like, hey, look, this is why we tell you a week in real estate is like a month in real estate.
Steven said that?
Yeah. It's like, remember when we had you last week? I was like, so we either do this now or next month. You're selling it for 20 grand.
Change.
You're selling it for 20
Yeah.
grand, right? So you tell us what we need to do.
Here's why it's very, very important to know how to buy during this market.
It's not even during the market. It's just to know how to buy.
Yeah, but so there's two things, right? So when it's an uptrend market, you can be an idiot
Yeah.
and still make money.
Yeah.
When it's a downward market, right? You have to be very, very, very precise. Is he asleep?
I think he gargoyled, bro.
This dude fell asleep on the podcast.
Bro, I swear, Zadie just.
Are you kidding me?
Did you just
Anyway,
gargoyle,
okay,
bro?
wow. You are disgusting, dude. So we're
I just want to
educating
see
here.
if you're paying attention.
We're educating here, dude. All right. So you got to know. You got to be more conservative.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to account for more of holding cost, right? For whether you're wholesaling or flipping yourself, you got to know that there's a possibility that you may be holding this property for longer. So now you have to account for that, right? You got to buy much deeper. You know, the days of buying at, 70, 80 cents on the dollar, like, dude, you better be 60s or less.
Yeah.
Right?
For cash deals.
Yeah, for sure. So you got to know that. And then you got to almost assume that, a 2 to 5% price drop month over month.
Right.
You got to assume that too.
Yeah.
You got to assume the price drop is going to happen when you get the contract signed. There's going to be a price drop that's going to be happening before you exit.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And if you don't compensate, if you don't factor that in, you're done.
That's right.
So back to your question. Here's my answer to your question.
Yeah.
Right, struggling right now. Number one, my opinion is communication. Right, learn how to talk to people.
Oof.
I was listening to a call right now from some guests that are up in our office, and within the first minute to 2 minutes of the conversation, I'm like, bro, like, you need to learn how to talk to people. Like, you're not listening. There's no enthusiasm on the call.
Oh, wow.
Right? And the seller's telling you already some of his needs, and you completely missed him.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And then number two is, I would say, know your market, right? Learn how to run your numbers accordingly to what the market
So
is
important.
doing.
You know what's this is how you know, by the way, that you have to know how to buy in this market. Ready? Perfect example. Bought a condo. We thought it was a great deal. We thought we bought it 50 cents on the dollar.
We bought it in December.
No, we didn't. Not the one up north.
Oh, not that one.
No, not the one that just went under
I'm
contract.
talking about the other one. Yeah.
We bought that condo
February?
March. Yeah, because it was done by early April or mid-April. So yeah, bought a condo, 50 cents on the dollar. Okay. And we were like, man, we're going to be the only renovated condo. We're going to get $210,000 on this condo. It's a 2-1. We're going to get it all day. Right. So we thought we were going to sell for 210 and do and make a net 50, which is what our target always is when it comes to flipping, right? We were like, oh, we're going to make a net 50 all day. Right. Guess what? Condo was sitting there, had some showings, some offers came through that, required like massive seller concessions and things like that. That's another thing you got to account for, like seller concessions. 3 to 6, right? Yeah. So here we go. Ready? I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm done flipping condos, dude. Like, maybe a wholesale one, but I'm not gonna actually fix and flip condos anymore, right? Because we're having a tough time with condos,
The
right?
HOA fees are just
It's a little bit
atrocious.
different, The buying pool there is much smaller, right? So
And when the market's affected, the condos get affected first. So you don't have any time to react, really.
Okay, well, watch this. We thought we were going to get 210 for it, and then we were having, very kind of low offers. And finally, an offer yesterday came in for 180. Like straight,
30K under.
Close,
Straight up.
quick, close, no
right?
concessions.
180. That's $30,000 less than what I listed it for.
Damn.
Remember, at 210, I was going to make 50.
Right.
At 180, I'm taking a 30K haircut on my projected profit. And I made a decision in less than 2 minutes and say, get rid of it, gone. We're
20's
still
better
making
than
20,000.
20's better than nothing.
We're still making 20K. We're walking away. We're moving on. See, but most 99.9% of real estate companies out there can't do that.
They have to get that 50.
They have to get that sale. No, don't forget the 50. They got to sell for a specific amount to not lose because they didn't buy right.
Right. Oh, yeah. And then they hold on to it and they end up losing in the long run.
Exactly.
Right.
Now they lost time and money.
But here,
It's an
look at
opportunity.
the flip side to this, right? Because we got that one in Maryville, and you and I comped it. We actually bought this property from, it was our private money lenders. One of his rental properties.
82nd, yeah.
And me and Carlos had the conversation on the phone with him, and he was like, "What do you guys think it's going to sell for?" And we were like, "Oh, we'll get 400 easy, right? We'll get 400 easy."
He didn't believe it, huh?
And he was like, "How much are you guys going to put into this?" And we were like, 35.
No, we put more. We put like 40.
Yeah. Well, we were close, right? 35. He was like, "How are you going to get it done for that?" I was like, "Yeah, we can get it done." He goes, "Wow, that doesn't make sense." He's like, "I'd probably have to put 60 into it to get it done." And we're like, "Well, you're dealing with the wrong people."
Yeah.
And we
We're
did
Mexican.
it. We did it. We
know all the
spent a
Mexicans.
little bit more, right? We spent 5K over budget, but we also sold for 10K over what we thought we were going to sell.
Not for me. I have to take pride on this one. Bullseye for me. I told Josh, you can ask Josh. I said, "You're going to sell that for 410. You're going to sell that for 410." And he sold it for 410. He thought we were going to sell for like 380.
Yeah, I told him, no, we're going for
Like
it.
380. No, I'm like, bro,
a big
people will
swing.
pay.
Yeah.
And again, which leads me to another lesson for anybody out there that's watching or listening in this market, right? How to, not only do you got to buy deep, but man, you got to know your market. You got to know that there's certain neighborhoods that are going to, be more appealing and people are going to give up a little more cash to be in that neighborhood versus the ones that, are going to suffer and you're going to list the property and it's going to be on, there's going to be more days on the market with this property. You know what I mean? So these are all things that you have to take into account. And there's only two ways of knowing these things: experience, right?
Yep.
Or coaching, mentorship, education.
Yeah.
Someone else's experience.
Someone else's experience, someone else's losses.
Worst thing you could do is just undercut yourself, man. Imagine that condo, you guys got it with like a 15 grand profit, and you were saying, "Oh, it's 15 grand, man. That's a lot."
We would have
It's
lost
great.
15.
Yeah.
We would have lost
5.
15. So
Yeah, 15.
anyway, any closing statements from you gentlemen before we close it out? I feel like today was very,
So educational.
straight. Like if you're in real estate, dude, right?
I'll say this, man, and it's just investing, period. Like when everybody is scared of something, that's when you want to do it. And when everyone's doing something, that it's already, the time of capitalizing has already passed. Personally, I feel like wholesaling real estate at this point, even though the gurus are all preaching it and
all the
kinda
gurus,
teaching
the
it,
coaches out there, they're selling picks and shovels, right? They're selling picks and shovels.
Yeah.
And guess what? Most of them are not even operating. They don't even know how to be
Well, see,
operators.
because they're making money selling that. They own the picks and the shovels that they're selling. Like they got cold callers, they're selling their own cold callers. So
I'm hearing, by the way, these are great programs or whatever.
their own
but
CRMs, whatever.
yeah, here's what I'll tell you. Like I'm hearing coaches out there that are like that. They're full-time coaches and they're coaching every day. I'm like, if you're coaching every day, there's no way you're running
a business.
operations.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So just, if everyone is scared of something, that's the time to jump into it, man. So I think wholesaling right now, if you get in with the right mindset, right, and you're not just on the phone just saying yes to people, and you're running an ethical business, I feel like it's an amazing time, man. When things are low, you're going to be making a lot of money. So just buy smart and know, like you were saying earlier, educate your customers, man. So if they're like, oh, this is worth X amount of dollars, you know, show them trends. It's very easy to pull a trend. Get a realtor to pull a trend for you to see certain zip codes. Like, hey, what's happening to the house prices in this area, in this zip code, like a 90-day chart. And, you know, you could show a decline and you show evidence to your prospect. At least they'll know that you're not just talking out of your butt. You know, you're spitting facts.
Yeah.
And then they have to either decide to roll with it or not. But that's what I would suggest.
Thank you.
Nice. If you're in the game and you're struggling, there's nothing wrong with you finding some sort of means of income for the time being. What I do highly suggest for those people that are struggling out there that thought this was going to work and it's taking a lot longer, don't stop. It will, if you continue to work at it, it will be your key to freedom, financial, time freedom. But do what's necessary. If you have to work 2 jobs at the same time and do this, you know, full time, then do it. But that's the biggest thing is I also see a lot of people that come in and they don't make it after the first 3 months or 2 months and they just give up. Like I know people that it took you guys 6 months to get your first deal. I know people that it's taken an entire year to get their first deal.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I'll say. If anything that you supposedly want to go after and you quit 3 months in, you never really wanted to go after it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You thought you did, but no way you did. No way you did.
And to break it down percentage wise, right? Let's say if you don't do it, you're gonna 100% chance you're gonna fail. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it, let's just say you have a 50% chance of success. Isn't 50% better than nothing?
Well, here I'll tell you I'll give you the other percentage. If you do it and you keep doing it and you endure and you survive, right? There's a 99.99% chance that you will eventually succeed, right? If you don't give up, success is inevitable.
They'll find you.
With that being said, thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed, please do so. And if you found this podcast informative or educational, please share it with someone that can use specifically this episode. We'll talk to you soon.